Hello and welcome to Mabinda TV. So for now, I'm looking at the state of democracy in Africa. So basically, you have this notion by Zambian economist Dr. Dambisa Moyo that the voter should take a civic test. In her book, The Age of Chaos, you have the Zambian economist Dr. Dambisa Moyo saying that the voter should take a civic test and only those who pass get to vote. So those are the sentiments of the Zambian economist Dr. Dambisa Moyo. So do you agree with her sentiments that is the voter should be taking a civic test and only those who pass get to vote? That's because the voter for the most part doesn't know the weight of their decisions. So basically what we have in Africa or maybe even in other democracies around the world is mob anarchy, where the voter does not know the weight of their decisions. So basically, maybe I think this is why, for instance, in a country such as the United States, the founding fathers did not entrust the voter with the choice of electing the president. So they set up the electoral college to be able to elect the president. And I think this is why basically democracies in Africa are not working, because the voter is going to choose their tribesmate. Basically, the voter is going to choose their tribesmate, and I think this is why we need to be able to have the voter know the quality of our leader. First of all, what is their value? What is their value? Yeah, do they have high integrity? That is, the water. Do they have high integrity? What is their values? Can what they say your integrity is what you will do when no one is watching you, not what you will do when people are watching. What will you do in a dark room when no one is watching you? So that's integrity. So basically, that should be the number one quality that a voter should be looking for, not just looking for my tribesmate, so that then I can get to be able to elect him in, elect my trustmate in, and then after the trustworthy, after integrity, then basically, and it should not just be documentation, it should really be about high self or self trustworthy. And of course, I think they say you know the quality of democracy as soon as you interact with the average voter. Basically, to know the state of democracy of a country, you will know by interacting with the average voter. What is the state of democracy in Uganda, in Kenya, in Nigeria? Just interact with the average voter. Then, if they tell you they will support their tribesman, you know this country is truly forsaken. This country has gone to the dogs. So that's how you will know a voter, and that is the state of democracy in a country. Just speak, take your time and speak to the average voter. Then, of course, from the state of democracy, that is the average voter, basically, then the other quality is their skills, their education, their competencies. Of course, there are leaders that didn't perform well in school and still ended up being a very fantastic leaders. There are leaders that failed in school or maybe did not get good grades, but then they went on to be a very effective leaders. I'm not saying that education is a must have, but I think it should be a prerequisite in the current world. What is we are going to the age of AI, so how is a leader going to be equipped to handle such complex things? And I think for Africa, we need the economies to develop by double digit year on year for 30 years, and that's why I say we need voters that are basically we need voters that we need leaders that have the skills, the competencies, the education. Of course, the counter argument will be, but there have been some people that have graduated from Harvard. There have been African leaders that have graduated from Harvard, from Oxford, from Cambridge, from Princeton, from Yale, name it. Name all the elite colleges of the world. There have been some African leaders that have graduated from these elite colleges, but then they have gone on to be autocrats in their country. They have gone on to be basically looters in their country. So of course it is not a guarantee, but I think you need a minimum standard of education. I won't say maybe a bachelor's degree, but maybe a post-secondary education qualification. I think there's just a way that someone that has graduated from post-secondary really helps. I think, so of course, there have been some leaders, such as Jacob Zuma, that basically went only up to grade 2 or standard 2 in BT system schools. Then you will say that basically Jacob Zuma went only up to grade 2, went only up to standard 2, but then self-taught himself on how to read English, and of course, but did he make a good leader for South Africa? I think South Africa maybe regressed during the era of Jacob Zuma, and I think that's the way we need to be thinking. Basically, can these leaders have these leaders basically did they help their country? So you need skills, competencies, and of course, skills, competencies, and education. Then the third quality of a leader we need in Africa, the third quality of a leader we need is basically can the leader basically can the policies of the leader are they pro-socialist, so maybe they favor equality of opportunity, maybe even equal outcomes, as the founding president of Tanzania, that is as the founding president of Tanzania, that is Julius Nyerere wished, that is basically people to have equal outcomes. Of course, that will depend on skills, hard work. Wealth depends on so many things. There is the element of luck, maybe starting off in a well-off family. Maybe even looting is an avenue of wealth creation in Africa, of wealth accumulation in Africa, primitive accumulation of wealth through stealing and looting. So basically, you have their policies. Are they socialists or are they capitalists? Maybe they favor the empowerment of the creative genius, empowering the private sector, so that then it becomes the main avenue through which people start their companies, start businesses, then they can employ people, and then of course pay taxes to the government. So that is what we need to be able to do. Basically, can these enterprises employ can are they capitalists? I think, or maybe are they centrists somewhere in between? Are they centrists somewhere in between, or are they centrists somewhere in between a capitalist and a socialist? Maybe a country like China, where you have Deng Xiaoping basically changing the constitution of China so that then they could have a mixed economy. So that's the things you need to be looking out for. But then I think the quality of the water in Africa needs to improve, and I think that's why they say democracy has not worked anywhere in the world where it is. Democracy has not worked anywhere in the world where the per capita income is less than 10,000. So $10,000 a year is the minimum threshold for democracy to work in a country, and maybe that is why economic prosperity and democracy is a chicken and egg issue, basically, which comes first between economic renewal and effective democracy. So for those who will be saying you need people to have money in their pockets first, because so that then you can get them to basically you can't get them to be high quality water, or maybe the other one will say you need effective democracy for to get the leaders you deserve, then the economy will grow. So it's a chicken and egg issue, but basically those are the tenets of how the water in Africa needs to change so that we can elect very high moral ground leaders. So what do you think can create the leaders in Africa that we need? So basically that's it for now. Bye for now, till the next time. Bye for now.